Hey guys, welcome back to this tutorial. Today we are going to be talking about how we can select values from our data frame. So we'll be using the data frame from our previous tutorial. So let's just look at the data frame and see what it looks like. Okay, so we have our data frame with two columns and our customized indexes as A to G, and we have columns name and admission number. So let's start by selecting rows. So let's say we want to select this row that belongs to the name Rafiat. We'll simply there are two ways by which we can select rows. We can just select the rows by their name. So we'll simply just say my df, then dot loc, that's the location of the row, and then we'll specify that we want location A, and then we'll get, you can see we have name Rafiat, admission number 122. So the name of the index is A and this is this. So this is the name of the index. So we can access any index that we want by the name of the index. We can say .log B, .log C, and so on and so forth. And we can also access by the index location. So let's take a look at our DF again. Let's just print out our DF. Print my DF, and then let's comment this out. So let's print this, and then we have our DF like this. So we can use dot index location, that is iloc. If we don't know the name of the indexes, we can use index location. So, and if you can remember, Python indexes starts from 0. So this A would be index of 0, this B would be index of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. So we say that index location 0 would still have Rafiat. So you see we have name, Rafiat, admission number 122. So we can also select more than one. We can select more than one index. You can say index of 0 and 1, just this. Okay, so you see we have index 0 and 1, Rafiat and Abubakar. So you would notice that I added this list inside of here. So normally the loc or eloc function takes two arguments, one for the row and the other for the column. So if you add just one argument, it will assume that you want the rows, you want this particular row and all the columns. So let's say I say 0 and then I put another, this will return the first row and the second column. You see what I mean by this? So you see I have 1, 2, 2 here. So the same way our rows have index of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The columns also, we have the index of 0, 1. So if I'm passing in two arguments here, it will recognize this as the rows and this as the columns. So if I want to access more than one row, I have to pass it as a list. So in this case, if I want to access, let's say 0 and 1, so it will see this as I want 0, the first and second columns, the first and second rows, and then the second columns. So if I print this, you see we have 1, 2, 2 and 1, 2, 3. That is for this first and second rows, but we access just the second columns. So we can also access more than one columns. So in our case, we have just 2 columns in our data set, in our data frame, so we cannot explore more than that. So you can also slice by saying, let's say 0 to 6. We say 0 to 6, or let me say 0 to 4. So it will print out all of these columns. So let me just comment this out so we don't get confused. So you see, we have 0, 1, 2, 3. So it will start at 0 and stop at 3, and then it prints out all the columns. So we can also add it. If you don't want it to print out all the columns, you can say, okay, I want only the first columns, and then it will give us just the names. So you see, we have 0 to the 4th row, and then the first column only. So that is the way you can select rows and columns by the index location, and you can select by the name of the rows. You can say you want row A, B, C, or you have to use dot look, and then you can say comma, let's say name. What is the name of the column you want? So you see, we have A, B, and C, and just the name column. So you can either use your loc, which means the name of the location, the exact location, the names, or use the index location if you don't know the names. So that's just a way to access rows and columns. You can also access single rows by just, and single columns by just simply, you can just say my df, and then you pass in the name of the column name, and this will give you the names of that column. It will give you the values. So you see, you have the column for name. So you can also access the column for any column in your data frame. You can access it by simply just doing this. So you see, you have the column for this as well. So you can select rows and columns using these methods. You can also delete rows. You can also delete columns. You can delete columns by using the del function. You can say delete del my df and admission number. If you run this and then you print my df, you see that we are left with just the name. So that is one way to delete. That is one way to delete a column. You can also remove a column by using the pop function. You can say my df dot pop, but since we are left with just a column now, let's just note it. We can just say my df dot pop, then okay, sorry about that. You can say my df dot pop, and then you simply just pass in the name of the column that you want to, so it will automatically just remove this particular column from your df. So that is another way to remove or delete columns from your data frame. You can also add columns to your data frame by simply just writing the name. I can just say my df, then I pass in the new name of the column I want to add. Let's say serial number is equal to, then I can pass in new values. I can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can simply just say np dot a range of 6. Okay, we have 7 index, so let's say 7. Yeah. So if we check our DF now, my DF, you see that a new column has been added to our data frame. So you see, we have serial number. So we have name and we have serial number. So the admission number is not appearing here because we've deleted it from our data frame, remember. So that is a way to add, remove, delete, or access your columns and rows values. So it's just pretty straightforward, and it just needs you to practice more to just get the whole concept. See you in the next tutorial.